What if the next massive AI winner isn't a trillion-dollar tech giant? What if it's a tiny company, trading for just a few dollars, that most investors have never even heard of? Because right now, while everyone is chasing Nvidia, Microsoft, and the obvious AI leaders, some investors are quietly searching for the companies building the hidden infrastructure behind the AI revolution. And one of those companies could be sitting under the radar, waiting for the market to finally notice. But here's what nobody is telling you. The real AI boom may not be about the companies you already know. It may be about the ones almost nobody is talking about. Let's break down what's really happening. Context: the global AI race. Right now the world is entering the biggest technological race since the internet. Artificial intelligence. And the scale of this transformation is almost impossible to ignore. Governments are pouring billions into AI research. Major corporations are spending unprecedented amounts of money building AI infrastructure. And countries are competing for technological dominance. In the United States, tech giants are racing to build the most powerful AI models ever created. Meanwhile, China is rapidly expanding its AI capabilities, investing heavily in domestic semiconductor and technology companies. Europe is introducing strict regulations while also funding new AI development programs. And across the globe, companies are investing billions into data centers, advanced chips, and AI software platforms. But here's where the story becomes interesting. Because during every technological revolution, the biggest winners are not always the obvious companies. The lesson from tech history. Think about the early days of the internet. Most people remember companies like Amazon and Google. But some of the biggest returns actually came from smaller companies that provided the tools and infrastructure behind the internet economy. Companies that built networking equipment. Companies that produced specialized chips. Companies that powered the backbone of the digital world. At the time, many of these companies were small, unknown, ignored by most investors. Until suddenly, their technology became essential. And when that happened, their stock prices exploded. Some investors saw returns of 5x, 10x, even 50x. Now history doesn't always repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And today, the artificial intelligence revolution may be creating a very similar opportunity. The hidden AI economy. When people think about AI, they usually imagine chatbots, image generators, and advanced software models. But the truth is, those systems require enormous physical infrastructure to function. Massive data centers, advanced semiconductor chips, ultra-fast networking hardware, specialized cooling systems, and enormous amounts of electricity. Without these things, AI simply doesn't work. Which means the companies building this hidden infrastructure suddenly become incredibly important. And some of those companies are surprisingly small. That's where the opportunity begins to appear. Because sometimes, the companies that build the tools for a new technology become just as valuable as the companies using the technology itself. The Nvidia story. To understand this idea, we need to look at one of the most incredible stories in the stock market. Nvidia. Today Nvidia is one of the most valuable companies in the world. Its chips power the majority of the AI revolution. But just a decade ago, many investors ignored the company. Back then Nvidia was mostly known for gaming graphics cards. Few people predicted that those same chips would become the backbone of artificial intelligence. But as AI research advanced, scientists realized that Nvidia's GPUs were perfect for training machine learning models. Suddenly, demand exploded. Tech companies rushed to buy Nvidia hardware. Data centers began installing thousands of Nvidia GPUs. And the company's revenue surged. Investors who recognized that shift early saw life-changing returns. Now here's the fascinating question. Could something similar happen again? Could another small company, sitting quietly in the AI supply chain, suddenly become essential to the next phase of this technological revolution? Some investors believe the answer might be yes. But the real story gets even more interesting. Because the next wave of AI growth may not be driven by software alone. It may be driven by infrastructure. The next AI bottleneck. Right now, the biggest challenge facing the AI industry isn't demand. Demand is exploding. The real challenge is capacity. Training large AI models requires enormous computing power. Running those models requires even more infrastructure. And as AI adoption spreads across industries, the pressure on this infrastructure will only increase. Tech companies are already building massive new data centers around the world. But these facilities require specialized equipment, high-performance networking systems, advanced cooling technologies, energy-efficient processors, and powerful hardware integration. Each of these components represents an entire industry. And inside those industries, there are smaller companies developing critical technology. Some of them are public companies. Some of them are still flying under the radar. And occasionally, one of them becomes the next breakout stock. But before investors start chasing every cheap AI stock they see, there's something important they need to understand. Because cheap stocks can also be extremely dangerous. Warning/risk. Here's the reality most people ignore. Not every small tech company becomes the next Nvidia. In fact, most of them fail. Some run out of funding. Some never scale their technology. Some get crushed by larger competitors. And others simply disappear. The tech industry is brutally competitive. Innovation moves fast. And markets can change overnight. That's why experienced investors focus on fundamentals. They look at revenue growth, industry positioning, strategic partnerships, and technological advantages. Because hype alone is not enough to build a successful company. Real innovation is what ultimately drives long-term growth. But when a company does have the right technology and the right position inside a massive industry shift, the results can be extraordinary. Which brings us back to the bigger question. Where could the next major AI opportunity appear? Transition. To answer that question, we need to look deeper into the global AI supply chain. Because hidden inside this rapidly expanding ecosystem are companies building the tools that may power the next generation of artificial intelligence. And some of those companies are still trading at prices that most investors would consider unbelievably cheap. But the real opportunity might not be where people expect. In fact, one overlooked part of the AI industry could become the most valuable segment of all. And when you understand what's happening there, the entire AI investment landscape suddenly looks very different. Let's dive deeper. Conclusion, Part 1. The AI revolution is still in its early stages. Governments are investing billions. Corporations are racing to build new infrastructure. And investors around the world are searching for the next breakout opportunity. Some will focus on the obvious giants. Others will look deeper into the companies powering the system behind the scenes. Because history shows something interesting. Sometimes, the biggest O